Lesson 3. So this is a longer answer question. It's worth 6 marks. Um, what we have to do is says the information in the box is about the properties of solids and gases. We are given that solids have a fixed shape and are difficult to compress, and that gases will spread to fill out the container and are easy to compress. Use your knowledge of kinetic theory to explain the information given in the box. So explain is our command word. Remember, if we have to explain, that means to give reasons why. And we are going to be having to look at kinetic theory. So kinetic theory is about particles. Those are particle models. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to sketch out my particle models for my solid, and over here I'll do the gas. I'll try and keep it roughly about the same volume. We'll put the particles in. So the solids, okay, we should be putting in our particles. They're all touching. They're in this regular formation, like this. Make sure your particles are all the same size. So there's my solid and my gas, same size particles, but the particles are going to be much more spread out. So we've got to make sure we talk about spacing. So we know about spacing here. So these are, close together. The movement, so these vibrate in a fixed position. And the forces, well, the forces in the solid are, strong forces between the particles. Okay, so I've covered those points there. You might wonder why I'm writing it here and not on the answers. That's because I'm sort of coming up with a plan. When I started to write my answer, I want to spend some time thinking about this so I can tick these off and making sure that I've covered all these points. And this is this isn't the explanation. This is just like the description of the particle model. So I'm going to use this description in order to explain what's in the box. So let's do the same for the gas. So the particles are spread far apart. The movement is its random movement in all directions. And the forces, there are no forces between the particles. Okay, so I've got my description set up there. So let's see if we can start to explain it. So let's go with the first one. So let's start with the solid. And let's see if we can explain the fixed shape. So we'll do that. Fixed shape. It's not really good English, is it? Solid fixed shape. So it says solids have a. Let's try and turn it into a lowercase. So solids have a fixed shape because let's have a look at which of these properties explains it. Well, it's to do with the forces, because the particles have strong forces of attraction between each other, between them, which holds them in a fixed position giving them a fixed shape. Okay. So, what have we talked about? So, if we answered this, why they're fixed shape? So because the particles have strong force of attraction. So I can sort of take these off when I've done them. So we've done the strong force of attraction one, which holds them in a fixed position, giving them a fixed shape. We probably should say that it's a fixed regular position, giving them a fixed shape. Yep, so we've done that one. So why are they difficult to compress? So they're difficult to compress. Let's use our properties because the particles, we can use this first one, are close together. The particles are close together, so there is no room to move closer. Okay, so we've mentioned that one. We haven't said about their movement, so will that explain why they're difficult to compress? I suppose so. It's because they're going to stay in a fixed position, so that they aren't going to move out and create a space they can be compressed into. So they just add it in a fixed. Vibrate in a fixed position. Okay, so I think we've covered all of those for the solid. So now we need to try and do the same for the gas. So the gas will spread and fill the entire container, and it's easy to compress. So we can start to talk about why it'll fill the container. So gases will fill their container because the particles are spread far apart, and that's because, oops, I've clicked on a bit, there we go. They're spread far apart because they have no forces of attraction between the particles. Okay, so gases will fill their container because the particles are spread far apart, because they have no force of attraction. That doesn't really explain why they're filling it. We probably need to actually mention this bit about the idea that they'll move randomly in all directions. The particles are able to move in all randomly, so will fill the container are placed in. So we should add spread out to fill the container they are placed in. So in that one we've talked about they're spread apart, and we've explained why they fill the container. We said that they move in all directions. We said that there are no forces. So the only thing we need to do is say why they're able to compress. So they can be compressed. And this is the opposite of the solid. You can see in the solid there's no space to compress them, whereas in the gas here, there's all this space for the particles to move into. So they can be compressed easily due to the particles having large spaces between each other. I apologize for the spelling there. Each other. Okay, so I think we have covered that. So I think that covers everything. What my advice would be for this one is to, once you've written your answer for your 6 marker, because you can get a bit carried away and quite deep into it, you notice that I was always trying to come back to my question and tick off my plan to try and keep me on track. Because it would have been really easy just to carry on writing, and it's really easy to just go off the point, and that's really common when I'm marking these questions, is that people just go off the point. So what we need to always do is just read our answer back and just check that it matches. But with me doing that throughout, I know it does, and I've ticked off all of these things, and I have definitely mentioned the spacing, I've definitely mentioned the movement, and I definitely mentioned the forces. So I should be over 6 marks for that question.